Good morning. I want to speak for a moment about a video I caught. It's called "The Streets Miss Trump." There's like two or three volumes of it. It was set in South Beach, Miami, talking to people about Trump and do they miss Trump over Joe Biden. This black dude talking to different people. So a couple of people say they like Trump or they voted for the wrong person with Biden, and this convoluted nonsense about how Trump was a good president. One guy says Trump, he doesn't want Trump back in office, but that he felt like Trump wasn't given a chance, which is bullcrap, and that he felt like people were always going after Trump. He couldn't do anything done, get anything done. Well, I've talked about him before that I believe Obama faced the same stuff. It might have even been worse during Obama's era. In fact, that's when you had the Tea Party pop up, remember? I think that Obama faced many more death threats of violence against him and his family that we'll never know about. I've talked about it because when you're a black man out here and you get in a position of power, you're gonna get hate. You have to accept it, and you can't hide from it. You can't go to the media every time you see a death threat because it weakens you. Because it makes it to where people will say, well, he can't handle himself. He's operating in fear. If you're a black man in power, you've got the world to win, brother. You've got too much stuff to do, and you don't have the privilege to say, oh, well, they don't. You don't have that privilege. When Obama got in office, he had bipartisan construction bills. Republicans wouldn't work with him. It was a minute they wouldn't work with him, and it was the constituents that made them work with him. So let's be clear. Obama faced some of the same stuff. You never heard him complain about it. You never heard him whine about it. Trump complained and whined about it nonstop. Hillary Clinton, Comey, all that crap. Second of all, I think Trump went for the smoke. And that's something I noticed about him is that he went for the smoke. If there were people out here who didn't like him and were constantly harping on him, that's because he played into it at every corner, at every intersection, every juncture. He played into it. He liked it, and that's what fascists and hard men do: is they play into the hate against them, or so-called hate. One guy's talking about how Trump got him on money, I guess, for taxes and stuff like that, and other brother said to him, all he cares about is money. You have to realize what Trump was doing. Trump was literally rolling back, and he succeeded in many ways. The cultural reforms of the last 100 years. The fact that a black man can't understand the danger Donald Trump was to him, that bothers me. Because it's almost like as long as black people make money, and maybe there's a few hate crime laws and stuff, black people vote Republican. That's what I'm seeing. It's almost like that if, especially in the South, this video was filmed in Florida. As long as you get a little bit of money, black folks will support you. That's bad. Trump was rolling back climate change. When Trump was talking, and let's understand something, it's not just what he did, it's the cultural stuff he did. Because when you're in office, you've got a limited amount of time. You've got a limited amount of camera time to push a message. When Eisenhower spoke about the military-industrial complex, that was an important video he made, and we live in that. We live in the MIC. When he went out and talked about how you have water-saving toilets that don't work, and he did speech to dishwashers, that wasn't about foreign policy. That was about creating a sort of disinterest. That was about creating a sort of confusion in that. And I think that's below the office of president. We have to understand that so much of Trump was a reversion to the past. And if black people can't understand why that's a bad thing, then we got a problem, a real one. The fact that all you focus on is, the science on pollution, the science on climate change, Trump's war on the EPA, Trump's warning of the government agencies, Trump changing the weather map for Alabama. I get it, black people. You want to ignore his evil because you made a little money, you got that bag. I get it. But if you're willing to sell out your ancestors and sell out Dr. King and sell out all these scientists, then then you're garbage. You're vermin. You know what I mean? You don't care about the environment for your children. You don't care about climate change. I mean, if that's the case, I got nothing to tell you. Trump endangered democracy. Period. And since I wonder if America even believes in democracy anymore, do we even want that anymore as a political value? What do we want now? That video makes me question that. Either just stupidity of what he did, the fact that Trump waited 2 months to do nothing about COVID, it doesn't bother you? That Trump altered weather maps? I already talked about that. That doesn't bother you? You know, the fact that January the 6th, he did nothing for hours and was going to let Pence be killed? That doesn't bother. I don't care anything about Mike Pence at all. I don't care anything about the man. He could have died. I wouldn't have blinked an eyelash. But I acknowledge that no man should have that kind of power. No man, and the FBI would agree with me. No man should have the power to just say, you know what, we're going to march on the Capitol and we're going to take people hostage. That just the idea that there's people who are willing to do that, as a public official, you would encourage them. And he did it from day one. Trump, from day one, Trump was joking about having the tough guys and the cops in his pocket. He joked about it. This wasn't a president. This is a Don. That's what Dons do when they come and they want to get extortion. Yeah, I got some cops in my pocket. I got the tough guys. That's what Dons do. A president is supposed to be trying to create a sort of legitimacy for law enforcement, a sort of legitimacy for federal power. Not out here in the streets talking about, I got thugs that'll come and get you. Like, that's the danger with Trump. That's what Trump was about. He was about brute force and violence and about a politics of rage and resentment. And if a black man out here is simply focused on money, you know, and ignoring the blatant racism, the blatant homophobia, the blatant misogyny, if that's really what you're doing, then I've got to ask, are we even on the same side? I don't get into the Russia stuff because Trump didn't make America racist. You know, Trump didn't create something new. Another thing, people were saying if he wasn't so nasty with the comments and all. I get the feeling like people ain't political on the video. They say, you know, if he hadn't been this way, he'd have been okay. If he hadn't been on Twitter, he'd been okay. So what you're saying is you're okay with a racist. You're okay with a dude that's evil and wicked. You're saying he shouldn't have been so loud and proud about it. I liked his tweets. I thought they were funny. Kofifi, Hamburger. I mean, I did a semester in college. I can tell you, you know, you are what you write. I'm nobody. And I know that. You are what you write. And the fact the president would you know, perform so horribly with that. And if you can't do that, then don't tweet. Or make sure someone does it for you. You've got people to do that. Go over their communications. Hey, does this make sense? You know, that woman basically was saying she just didn't like the way in which Trump went about his racism and misogyny. That's what she was telling you, basically. I don't like that he was so open about it because his tweets gave me an idea of where he was at mentally, where his mind was at. No, don't hide your mental illness. Don't hide your racism. Don't hide your hatred, your racism, your misogyny. Don't hide it. I need to know this because conservatives before Trump for so long were about denial. Trump denied nothing. He denied nothing. He was very clear about where he stood and how he felt. And here's one more thing. I'm going to end on this. When they say Trump shouldn't have used Twitter or social media because it made him look bad, okay, I'll accommodate that. A man walks a path, and that path determines his character and where his destination in life. There's guys that make a lot of money and go out and cheat on their wives, snort coke, party, and they lose everything. There's guys that, make mistakes. A man follows a path. Her saying he shouldn't have done this, that's like saying the Nazis would have been okay if they didn't do the Holocaust. No. The idea of National Socialism, the very nature of it, was putrid. Didn't matter if it was Hitler or Goebbels or Goring, I don't care. Same thing with Trump. Him putting in Stephen Miller, a known racist, a known white supremacist. Him putting in 3 different secretaries of DOJ. Basically just putting in people who were, and it's crazy because at the time people kept saying that was his right to do so. But what you're basically saying is his right to destabilize the U.S. government. The government needs to have stability. The people that Trump put in were yes men. And the fact that William Barr resigned, he didn't even stay to the end. The fact that he resigned shows you the government wasn't stable. I mean, you have the first guy, Sessions, come out and tell you that the DOJ is not going to be a political weapon. He said that. That's what he said. And now we know about people trying to buy pardons and stuff. So, what Trump did, it doesn't matter if he had the right or the powers to do it. He destabilized the federal government. He destabilized society. And so if you're a black person, you're just fixated on the money and all that, you're forgetting what America was to your ancestors, how bad America was in my mama's time. Not that long ago, in my mama's time, how bad America really was. You're forgetting that. There was a time black people couldn't own houses. You're forgetting that. Housing covenants, anybody? Supreme Court justice had to recuse himself from the case because many of them had them covenants. You couldn't sell a house to a black person. Yeah. So if you're just out here looking for money, and that was the real thing with the black man, was getting him down from that cultural imperative of his rights, his family, his community, to it just being about money. Like that was and it succeeded. And there's a reward for that. Trump was a racist. No doubt about it. But even more than that, he had an administration of racists, an administration of white supremacists. It's just that broke down because all of them are crooks and criminals. Just because Sessions spoke out didn't make him a good man. Just because William Barr said that, okay, the voting fraud was BS, doesn't make him a good man. It just meant that they recognized that what he was doing was so facetious, it was so much nonsense in it that they had distanced themselves from it. Anyway, thanks for listening.